Um, let's start by drawing a picture. You're building app. It's greenfield. Maybe you're part of a large organization and it's internal to at first. It may not be as big or as fancy as your flagship product, but it can be someday. Or maybe your startup. You need to be productive. You want to use every productive tool at your disposal. You got to get from point A to point B, and you're pressed for time. Well, what do you do? Regardless of who you relate to, one thing is clear. Rails is on the menu. The speed of development, the conventions, the developer happiness, it's all there. I'm not talking about Rails API. I'm talking about classic Rails. Something else you might be considering is React. Well, why? Maybe because your organization just spent years building a set of React components that you find productive. Or maybe there's an existing UI library that you really like Mantine, MUI. But it's not an easy choice. Compared with Rails, React UI ecosystem is stronger, but you may not be ready for the complexity of client-side routing, GraphQL, or Rails API combination on the front end. Which one do you choose? Why not both? Maybe you can have it all. You can have the full productivity of a classic Rails experience with all the goodness of React. Hi, my name is Johny. I am the author of Superglue. It is the Rails way of building React and Rails applications. And today I'm going to show you how you can have it all. We'll be bringing what makes Rails so productive to this world of React and Rails in a cohesive, coherent, and refreshingly familiar experience. By the end of this, you'll see what makes Superglue so special and so unique. It's just everything you already know about Ruby on Rails. So let's start by bridging that gap by bringing back the Rails experience to this world of Rails and React. And for this portion of my talk, we'll have a volunteer, hello Sally, and we'll be doing a demo.
Hello.
In this demo, we'll be creating a hello world application, and hopefully you'll find it boring because it is. To be completely transparent, we are starting from a particular point in time where I've installed Superglue and I've followed a few recipes from my documentation. It has Vite and a progress bar. So let me share my other screen here. Share. Should be an infinite window. Okay. So I have the screen here. It points to application. And I want to make sure I have my terminal as well. Great. So we're all set up. So we're going to be building a an index post screen. And the first thing I'm going to do here is, Sally, you'll let me know what the error is, and you'll tell me what to do next. You'll be driving this.
Yeah. Building on my years of Rails experience, I think that when it says no route matches get posts, it means we need a route for posts.
Sounds like a plan. Let's add a route. Routes. Post. It looks like a plan.
That looks good.
Let's go back here. Oops, different error. Sally.
We've got to create a post controller.
All right, let's do that. Let's go back here. App controllers posts controller.rb. Go here and let's refresh the screen. Oh, what should I do, Sally?
Well, we've made the file, but we haven't actually made the controller yet. So we've got to define the controller in there.
Awesome. Thank you, Sally. Class post controller, inherits from application controller. And let's save that. Reload the screen. Oh no, what happened?
Well, we've got a controller, but we don't have actions. Got to add an index action to our controller.
Let's do that. That index and Save this. Let's go back to the screen, reload. Oh no, what is happening here, Sally?
Well, we don't have a view. And it looks like it's looking for a view that has extension JSX or TSX. So we want to make a JavaScript or TypeScript file.
Interesting. Okay. So let's see here. It's missing this template, post index with the extension JSX. Let's do that. So views, post, index.jsx. Let's start with that. And let's reload the screen, and it's empty. Of course, we don't have a page component. So let's add that. Import React from React. Let's create a post index component. And we could keep this simple. It's going to be hello world. Paragraph tag, hello world, and paragraph tag. And let's export this too. Export default post index. What did that do? Hey, look, we got hello world. But, this is cool. We're using React now. Kind of like Railsy so far. But static data is not fun. Let me jump in here. So with Superglue, we need to get Rails data into our React component. And to do that, let's start by creating an index.json.jbuilder. No, not quite. We'll be using props template, which is a JBuilder syntax compatible template rendering library. So what we can do here is do a greeting, json.greeting. I'm going to say hello world to you. And let's see how this looks like on the front end. If you remember how classic Rails work, by defining a JSON template, we can access that same page through a format. So we put in post.json. We'll pretty print this, and look at that. I have a greeting. Hello world to you.
Magic.
So how do we get this into the React world? Well, let's go back to our React view here. We'll import use content from thoughtbot Superglue. This is a hook that we can use to grab the data. So const, I'm going to say greeting equal use content. And interpolate that. We'll save that. Let's go back to browser here. Keep this in mind, it's hello world to you. Let's go back to the HTML view. Hello world to you. Now we have data flowing in from the Rails world to the React world. And more importantly, we have access to all our Rails helpers. Here's that root URL. So let me stop sharing and share my other screen.
It's almost too easy, Johny.
I'm glad. Let's see here. So this is what I mean by bringing back the Rails experience. It is boring and it is so Rails-like, but at the same time, it's not quite. We're using views, but we're using React. And for me, it's productive, but it's not enough. What else can we do to bridge that gap between Rails and the world of React? Let's bring back UJS. UJS is awesome. I don't know if you all remember, but unobtrusive JavaScript was this neat feature prior to Rails 7 and below, where you can add a data attribute to any link, any form, and you get single page application functionality for almost free. I like to bring that back because it is a productive part of my Rails toolbox. Here's an application that's written in Superglue. There's 2 pages to it. You click on a link and it loads the next page, including the next page's CSS and JavaScript. It's a normal link. What can we do here to make that more single page application like? Well, in Superglue, we support data attributes. And what I mean is, take a look at this JSX link. What we can do is add a data SG visit. And now we have single page application navigation for almost free. It loads the next page in the background. It swaps the next page's full JSON into the React application. You don't need to reload CSS. You don't need to reload JavaScript. And it reminds us of a classic Rails technique from the world of turbos. And it does work for forms. Speaking of forms, we often think of React as this amazing tool for state management and form creation. But Rails can be just as productive. You get a lot of functionality in 5 lines of code here, and it's great for small to medium use cases. But often when we go with React, we lose this tooling. Not so with Superglue. Superglue brings back form width. We fork it, and we call the library form props. Instead of HTML, it spits out JSON. And here's how that looks like. Here you can see that the header is still there. That's what it looks like. There's new post. But with form props, it spits out HTML attributes. That's the input field. That's the submit button. And that's the form attributes. What can we do with all of this? Well, we just take the props and splat that into plain React HTML components, and it would just work. But the value of form props is that we can use it with any React UI libraries, from Mantine, Shaden, React Aria, or something custom. You do have to create a wrapper around these libraries to turn these props into something that these UI libraries accept, or you use thoughtbot candy wrapper. Thoughtbot candy wrapper are lightweight wrapper components around popular UI libraries made to work with form props. All you have to do is just navigate to the project, copy the set of components for your library. It does come with tests, so you can copy that too. And it's ready to go. Here's how that looks like in practice. And this GIF, I am adding a new select option to that select tag. I'm using Mantine. And once I add it, I reload the screen, and it's there. At this point, I'm actually using Rails form helpers with Mantine, and that is productive, but there's more. Here, I'm adding new functionality to make that select tag searchable by using Mantine's searchable prop. And then when I reload the screen, see how I'm now searching through the select options, and it's been a productive experience for my client projects. So with forms, when we submit them, we want to show errors too. Let's bring back the Flash. We all know how the Flash works, and it looks like this in classic Rails. In Superglue, it looks exactly the same. And the way to use these Flash is we use a React Redux useSelector. We grab it from the state, and we just use the Flash as is. Yes, Superglue does use Redux. It is a layer on top of Redux. If you're part of a larger organization, this might be familiar to you. If you're a startup, then we do support other state management libraries. You can use those too. But understand that Superglue is a layer on top of Redux, and there's certain functionality that does require Redux, like the Flash. What else can we bring back? What else can we do to bridge that experience? One thing I really like from the Rails universe is Hotwire turbo streams. It's a fantastic tool to get surgical updates. And the way it works is it gives partials superpowers. By defining a partial, we could broadcast the contents of that partial over the wire to Hotwire Turbo, and it does a surgical update. We're gonna port it. I love it so much that I ported it to Superglue, and here's how that looks like. Instead of HTML partials, we're working with JSON partials. And now I can broadcast state over the wire using a similar API to Superglue. And here's how that looks like in practice. Here, I'm changing a post body to hello world. And I'm just going to broadcast that to the post channel. And it updates the state on the front end. It's extremely productive. Here, I'm also editing the body to hello world 2222. I save that, and that also updates. We also support turbo string responses. So I miss fast tests. I miss not needing a Chrome driver in headless mode in order to run system tests. It's slow. So let's bring that back. What do I mean by that? Let me show you. Here's a set of tests from a real client project here at thoughtbot. There's 100 tests here. 22 of them are tests that require JavaScript and Rails in some shape or form. Here's how fast it works. I'll press play. It's building JavaScript, and holy moly, it takes a second to run. What is going on? Well, I'm cheating a little bit. Rails paralyzes tests. So let's see that again in action with just a single worker. It's not bad. It takes about 6 seconds to run. What is going on? Usually when we deal with system tests, these tests take a while to run, and it's going so quick in this demo. Let me introduce you to Humid. Humid is a lightweight wrapper around Mini Racer that uses V8 isolates, and we're using Humid to perform server-side rendering for these tests. This makes it really quick to run tests. Now, that doesn't mean we get rid of the Chrome driver, but with Humid, we are able to run fast tests on anything that tests a direct visit on a page and just for testing structure. When we're dealing with multi-page interactions, we still need like a Chrome driver, but at least with Humid, suddenly your testing pyramid looks a lot more like the classic testing pyramid. So where are we right now? We've tried to close the gap. We brought back the Rails experience. We introduced unobtrusive JavaScript, Rails forms, the Flash, turbo streams, and fast tests. Look, if you didn't have any context in this presentation and you were looking at that slide for the very first time, you'd be thinking you're learning about Ruby on Rails. And in a way, that's true, because what makes Superglue unique is everything you already know about Ruby on Rails. So we don't have enough time for everything. But there are things that make Superglue extra special. Deferment. Deferment is the ability to defer execution of expensive blocks in your template. In this example, you have 3 blocks that take 1, 2, 3 seconds for a total of 6 seconds to load the entire page. What we can do about this is use the ability to defer a block. We declare that a block is deferred, and we put in a placeholder In this example, we're adding an empty array of values. And here's how that looks like. Oops, here we go. The first set of data loads in 1 second. The second set of data loads async in 2 seconds. And the third set of data loads async in 3 seconds. This makes the page fast. Something else we won't be able to go over is digging. Digging is the ability to reload any part of the page through a query parameter and a UJS data attribute. In this example here, there's a link there that says reload me. If you press that link, it would fetch chart data, UV values, and reload only that slice of data. You can use this to build modals, tooltips, tabs, and more. Superglue also considers performance. For those who are from the React world, while it seems like we're doing prompt drilling, there's actually a way to efficiently use the use content hook so that child components can update when the prompts change without forcing the parent to re-render. Client-side updates are possible too. Here's how you can get involved. Try out the alpha. Create new issues, or comment on Discord. We are nice people. Please join us. I hope you like the experience. Thank you. For this question session, we have Sally here, who can answer Superglue questions based on the experience from a normal user, and me as well from the experience of an author. Any questions? Let me stop sharing here.
Well, I'll start with a question for you, Johny. Oh, wait, no, we've got one. If we have time, could we talk about data flowing the other way? How are form submissions handled, for instance?
I don't have an example I can show right now, but form submissions, mutations, are just normal Rails forms. We have the ability to add a data attribute to a form to make it seem like a single page application, and it works exactly the same way. And I think that's the value of Superglue, that it is just normal Rails forms, normal Rails links. There's another question, how do we handle authentication? It's cookie-based authentication. It's, you can use normal device, normal Rails authentication libraries, and it will just work.
I'll say for forms, and this is leading up into the question that I am planting for you. I'm working on 2 different projects right now that both use React and Rails, and one of them uses inertia, and one of them uses Superglue. And I was working on a Superglue one today and realized I needed to add a hidden form field to capture the user's time zone. And it took about 5 seconds. It was so nice. Whereas on the inertia project, every time I have to add a new field to a form or change how a form works, it takes a lot longer than 2 seconds because it's not the Rails way that I'm used to. I have to like remember how inertia forms work, and dig through all of that.
And that's kind of the goal I want for Superglue, that ultimately what makes it unique is everything you already know about Ruby on Rails. The Rails way is what makes Superglue unique.
Yeah. What inspired you to build Superglue, Johny? What problems were you running into that you wanted to fix?
That's a good question, Sally. I think I enjoy writing Ruby on Rails, and I like React for its components, and I've been trying to find a way to bridge that gap. And I feel like the way to integrate the two is to inject an opinion into React. And I chose the Rails way as the opinion to use because it's productive for me. And that just spiraled into this world of, well, I have to write a JavaScript library for this. That's what Superglue is. I need to write a templating library for this, and that's what props template is. I need to write a form library to make sure I still have that experience of building forms in Rails while also being able to use all of React. And that's what form props is. I hate slow tests, Sally.
Mhm.
That's why I built Humid. Um, it's a spiraling of events, and I think combined all together, it feels like Rails.
Any other questions? Any questions for me as someone who honestly doesn't know that much about React, but succeeds with using Superglue anyway?
Sally, what don't you like about uh there's another
Oh, good
question.
question. How is this different to inertia?
So that's a good question. Inertia is a competing library. Um, but if you understand inertia, it comes from the Laravel universe, and it's very tuned for the way that Laravel works. With Superglue, it is built from the ground up for Ruby on Rails. Juan, I don't know if you were able to see the entire presentation, but there was a point I'm trying to make the entire time, is that what makes Superglue unique isn't about Superglue. It is the Rails way. And my goal is to bring back what makes Rails so special. No worries, I could send you a set of slides. I'll post them in Discord. What makes Superglue so unique is that ultimately it is still just Rails. With inertia, you're learning inertia. With Superglue, you're bringing and using your entire arsenal of what you know about Ruby on Rails.
Question from Lindsay. But before I get to that, I'm gonna add on to that a little bit. I'd say that two things for me that I like doing in Superglue better than inertia are forms. It's just so straightforward with Superglue. It's as though you are just writing a regular Rails form for a regular Rails view. And dealing with props, it feels like a little cheat to be able to just plop .json on there and see your whole JSON structure of your props and know exactly what you're getting and be able to tweak them exactly. I feel like um, passing data through inertia is a little bit more of a mystery. I feel like it takes it's just not quite as clear and straightforward for me. It's a little more fiddly and confusing and obfuscated. Am I doing things independently with Superglue? I would usually need to collaborate with the front end dev or designer on. Um, that's a good question. I think at this point on my project with Inertia, I've learned enough React that I would be able to do it on my own. But yeah, I think just and it's less the front end part, it's more the like communication between the front end and the back end. Like I feel really comfortable with the back end. I've gotten more comfortable with the front end, but without Superglue, it feels like this huge canyon I have to throw things across and hope they land well. Whereas with Superglue, I don't I don't feel like there's that much. I guess it's just I'm more confident and it's more clear what's happening to me and I can do it faster. Um, I don't harass Johny with nearly as many React questions as I used to. Are we limited to React or can we use Vue.js or any other front end?
That's a good question, Juan. And the answer is right now you're limited to React and Rails. But there is value in putting focus on a single library. It makes it more intentional. Can it support Savit or Vue.js? Yes. If you're interested in contributing, you can. It can. And the way to do that is by understanding that what architects Superglue is Redux. So if it can't support Redux, it can support Vue.js because I believe Vue.js has a Vue Redux library. As long as it can integrate the two, there's an opportunity to do that. That goes the same with any other JavaScript libraries out there that has support for Redux. How many production apps use it? We have a couple of production apps more here at thoughtbot that uses Superglue. And I have to say, it's been an enjoyable experience using the Rails way with React.
Yeah. I think I personally have worked on 2 different apps that are in production with Superglue.
Question from
Can we
Juan.
use Superglue in just 1 or 2 pages and continue using ERB views elsewhere, right? If so, that sounds really nice to me. I don't want to be tied to React where not needed. Excellent point.
Good question. And the answer is yes. You can use ERB views as long as you have a foobar.html.erb. Superglue doesn't interfere with that.
Yeah, it makes it really easy to mix and match them and not be stuck using React everywhere.
Mhm.
And you can then use turbo streams in those ERB views, right? Like you don't have to.
That's a great point, Sally. I think Superglue ported Turbo Streams over, so it has its own set of like Turbo Stream functionality.
Mhm.
But as of now, it clashes with Hotwire Turbo Streams for the same namespace. So there is some work upcoming to fix that so they can live um, nicely. I wonder how heavy the front end could be. I tried this pattern. React View always breaks. States get lost. React doesn't like to be touched by elegance. Hmm, that's a good question. It can be as heavy as you like. And the reason is, while the ability to create single page applications is there for Superglue, you don't actually have to enable single page application functionality. And what I mean by that is, if you recall from a presentation, to enable heavy front ends, you use data attributes on links and forms. You could just not use data attributes on links and forms, and it'll function like a normal multi-page application, which means that when you click on a link, you get a brand new page load of the next screen. So will it break? No, because at that point, you're kind of like clicking through a new page anyway. You can selectively make certain things single page application like, and I think there's value in doing that, which makes your application more robust. You have the option to selectively enable heavier interactions. Another question is, how do I convince React lovers that this is a good way of working?
There's some elaboration there that I'm going to read. I find a lot of people who come to React as their first web development experience find Rails conventions constraining, confusing, uncomfortable. So it's just like Rails would be seen as more of a drawback than a boon. Well, those people
Good
are
point.
wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Good point. I think, Alex, you make a good point. I think, and I'll respond to that by saying, I accept that. I accept that some React lovers may not enjoy this way of working. I also accept that there are so many opinions in the React world on what is the best way to work. And I am one of many, but this one of many is targeted specifically to the way that Rails developers love to work. So I would say, yes, it's possible that React lovers may not like what I'm doing, but React is unopinionated. And in this sea of opinions, I think targeting the Rails way, bringing the Rails way, has value specifically for Rails developers, maybe not for React developers or people who are used to like GraphQL and stuff, but that's okay. I think I accept that. And it's a trade-off of what I'm trying to do.
I think that you don't necessarily have to use the word Rails to have this conversation. So it's just like Rails is a good shorthand for those of us who already love Rails, right? We know that that brings up certain things in our minds that we enjoy and that make our developer experience productive and happy. So instead of saying it's just like Rails, we can say it gives us and then list some of the things that we find advantageous about Rails that are part of this. So simplicity, human readability, um, uh, and now I'm blanking, but like those are, at this moment, just the first two things that come to me. I'm working with some React developers now, and sometimes I'll, comment on a PR with a suggestion for how we can move things more Railsy. And I find that once they see the diff and how many lines of code they save and how much less complicated it is, they get a little bit excited about it.
There's
So
also,
yeah, the next comment there, build small applications and tell them, look at this elegance, stop hurting yourself. It's a great way to convert people to Rails.
I think that's exactly right, Alex and Sally. I think have them try Rails forms. Forms are one of the pain points of like building single page applications, but it's like a solved thing with Rails because most of the time our forms are small to medium use cases anyway. They're not as complex. Have them try out forms with form props, and suddenly um, every React UI library becomes this Railsy, fast, enjoyable developer experience. And there is a lot of value in that. Mutations are often an ignored part of the framework experience. And going back to your earlier question, I forgot who asked about how does this compare to inertia. Try the forms because essentially it's Rails forms versus inertia forms. And we all know how to use Rails forms. We know how productive it is. And that's like one of the amazing selling points about Superglue, that mutations are just things you already know.
Yeah. Juan made a good point about camel case versus snake case. And I have to say, the app I'm working on right now that uses inertia, we have in the past week tackled so many bugs that basically boil down to camel case versus snake case. Um, and I think in Superglue, having that JSON.props file is a beautiful way to sort of map that clearly and consistently, um, to the point that I didn't even realize how big of an issue it could be until just this week.
One of the philosophies that might help y'all with how we write props is that we have to be explicit about our keys. So we don't auto camelize anything. We don't snake case anything for you. You have to type in camel case version of things and then translate that or assign that to the snake case variables. It makes it easier to grep. Like you could find it entire, you could look through an entire project and figure out where this variable from JavaScript side is coming from, because that's exactly how you typed it out in your project.
All right, Alex, in my experience, build small projects can be a double-edged sword. I've seen a lot of people make small tech demos and use it to say, look how easy/clean this is, attributing those benefits to the demoed framework when really it's because they're building a greenfield project with limited functionality. That's a good point. Yeah, Johnny.
That's a fair point. We have a few demos on the Superglue website that you can show them. One is non-trivial. So that might be something you can use to help convince your peers. But
I
yes,
think the true comparison comes down to you're going to build it twice. Build it with Superglue and build it not with Superglue and see which one was more fun.
how
How
does
does Superglue manage cookie security?
so it's just Rails. We're using the Rails standard cookie security because essentially what Superglue is just a bunch of views. And we are supported by the security architecture of classic Rails, which is cookie based. So it will, like Rails, and this is not Superglue specific, it's Rails specific. Rails will encrypt the cookies properly and decrypt them on your controllers so you could use them in your params. So it's just normal Rails. We don't do anything with the cookies. We depend on Ruby on Rails for that. Thank you, Theric.
The chat's been lively. This is fun. Thanks for being excited about it.
Great. And Alex, one thing you can do if you're comparing frameworks and you're looking for something new to use, I know it's not maybe a great comparison is to look at like greenfield projects, but you can compare greenfield projects from Superglue and greenfield projects to Inertia and take a look at the philosophies behind them. For Superglue, the major philosophy is that the props belong to a separate file next to your view. If you're looking at Inertia, everything is inside the controller. And so you're going to have this opinion from the Laravel Inertia universe that says, put all your props in this controller. And that kind of becomes fatty controllers. Compare that with similar greenfield project in Superglue, you have separate concerns. And that is something still valuable to see, even though it's not like a full-fledged production level application. There is still the ability to see what the opinions are between the two projects.
You're right. It does sound fun because it is fun.
It's fun and we're nice.
Yeah.
And I stressed that in the panel before, as well as right now. The people behind Superglue, the people behind thoughtbot are nice people. We follow philosophy as we are nice, the project's nice. Come join us, contribute. We love to hear from you.